There's no testimony without a test. I'm here 'cause he said I could be. He has wrapped his arms around me. My life is a testament. I must tell someone about it. My life is a testament. I can't keep quiet just like Jesus. I was risen from the dead, I'm his child, just as he said. His love is greater than life's expectations. The shield of his grace is my protection. I got a testimony, yes I do. For his favor has kept me through. He can do the same for you. Try him and watch what he do. I testify he is more than enough. You will make it through even when it's rough. Give him all the thanks and praise. Be blessed for the rest of your days. There's no testimony without a test. He has wrapped his arms around me. My life is a testament. I must tell someone about it. My life is a testament. I can't keep quiet just like Jesus. I was risen from the dead, I'm his child, just as he said. His love is greater than life's expectations. The shield of his grace is my protection. I thank you, Lord, I thank you. By your hands, we are here.
As the story you are about to hear is 100% accurate, the pictures are made to depict the actual time of events. This Testimonial Sunday is dedicated to the world's greatest aunt. Auntie Nikki, I appreciate everything you've ever done for Noodles and I, and it was a lot. I gave you your flowers while you were here, and I'm definitely going to give you your flowers while you're not. I love and miss you dearly. In order for this story to come full circle, I have to take you back to the very beginning. I found out I was pregnant when I was 24 weeks post-pregnancy. I know you're questioning how I didn't know I was pregnant. Well, I was only 102 pounds, I was still menstruating, and I had not been active for 3 months. I had 16 weeks to prepare to be a first-time mom. At 25 years old, I had never held a newborn baby. Now I had to nurture one alone. We'll save that testament for another time, as my daughter has been surviving being fatherless since she was 10 months old. I thought at the time that was the scariest thing I would ever experience. My baby's due date was November 12, 2009. At the time, the only relatives I had in my city were my sister, who had a full-time job and a family, and my aunt, who was dealing with health issues. So I knew the village was going to be a hut. My mom knew she wouldn't be able to make it for the birth of my baby due to her work schedule. So she decided to come on Halloween and help me get prepared for my baby's arrival and do my hair, as I had just stopped working 2 jobs on October 27th. So she arrives around noon. At the time, I didn't have transportation. My mom had her dad to drop her off to me from over 100 miles away. So she and I walked to the grocery store up the street, went and did laundry in the apartment complex, and cooked dinner. Everything was going great, except the fact that I had to keep going to the restroom. After my 7th trip in an hour, my mom asked, and I quote, "Don't you think it's time that you go to the hospital?" And I asked her for what. I felt fine, other than having to go to the restroom. She informed me that she had been timing my contractions, and she said they were about 8 minutes apart. Next thing I knew, I felt my first contraction. I was indeed in labor. Remember, we had no transportation. My mom called my aunt, and she and her boyfriend transported us to the hospital. God was showing up and showing out. He knew I was going to need my mom for what was to come, as I was all alone. When we arrived at the hospital and they told me I was having Braxton Hicks and they were going to send me home, my mom let them know that she was a nurse who gave birth to 5 kids and watched all her other 9 grandchildren come into this world, as she was for sure I was in labor. Plus, we didn't have any transportation to return home. Within 10 minutes of us waiting for the discharge papers, my water broke. Yes, God was showing up and showing out again. However, my daughter had a bowel movement in the sac due to me not knowing I was in labor, and she was stressed. Even with that going on, they just admitted me and let my labor progress. I was trying to have a natural birth, and I was doing well. By now, my contractions are coming 2 to 3 minutes apart, and I was still stuck at 1 centimeter dilated. My blood pressure was rising, and my baby's heartbeat was dropping. I was told after 7 or 8 hours of labor that I would need an emergency cesarean. But there was a higher priority over me. I had to wait an additional 2 hours before I would go into surgery. After 10 hours of labor, my princess was born on November 1st, 2009 at 9:49 a.m., weighing 5 pounds, 13 ounces, and 20 inches long. When my baby came out, she was purple, but she was crying. So glory be to God. I was immediately put under. That was the most rewarding day of my life, yet the most stressful. As I was in recovery, my baby was fighting for her life and had ingested human waste in the womb. I finally awoke after hours of being out. She was okay, but she was in the NICU. I would go 13 hours before I could even hold my newborn baby. Day 3, my baby finally was out the NICU. Everyone wants to have a healthy baby, and I thought I had just that. She was so beautiful, and everything seemed to be okay once she was released from the NICU. We went home on November 4th. After about 4 hours of being released from the hospital and getting settled in at home, I received a call. It was the nurse at the hospital. She told me something was wrong with the baby's heart, and I needed to schedule an appointment with the cardiologist immediately. Luckily, my aunt and my mom were still with me. I broke down crying into my auntie's arms as I held my precious baby. Once I gathered myself, I scheduled the appointment. The appointment was going to be until 9 days later. I was devastated. I knew my mom was leaving the next day, but luckily, my aunt lived in my apartment complex. However, I still didn't sleep for almost 2 weeks, other than an hour or 2 nap here and there. What if something happened to my baby while I was sleeping? What if she stopped breathing? So many questions was running through my head as I looked at my beautiful baby and cried. Once I took my daughter to the cardiologist, it was determined that she has ASD and VSD, which were heart murmurs. I instantly began to self-blame, as I didn't know I was pregnant for 6 months and I had been drinking and smoking. The doctor informed me that moms who hadn't partaken in any extracurricular activities had had babies who were born with the same defects. It still did not ease my conscience. We would have periodic visits to the cardiologist for the next 5 years. As the doctor said, she didn't require surgery until she was 5 years old. Yes, God was present again. Not one time in those 5 years did my baby ever lose oxygen, faint, or anything. She was extremely vibrant and hyper. She would ask to do things like gymnastics or dance. I would just let her know it wasn't her time yet. Fast forward to year 5. The cardiologist let me know it was time to schedule the surgery. They wanted to do a laser type of surgery so they didn't have to cut her tiny chest. We scheduled her surgery for November 6, 2014, just 5 days after her 5th birthday. On that day, my hut showed up for me again. My mom, aunt, and sister were there to hold my hand, pray with me, and pray over my baby. We arrived for surgery early that morning. She goes back, and I'm a complete wreck. After she came from surgery, I was informed that her holes were too large for them to repair through laser surgery. She would need to have open heart surgery. If I needed God before, I needed him more now than ever, as I wasn't prepared for that. I go on to schedule her surgery for January 12, 2015. At her pre-op, I was told due to the epidemic at the time, and I believe it was Ebola, only 2 people would be allowed in the room. Well, y'all know my hut was coming, and that couldn't happen. On the day of surgery, I showed up with my mom, aunt, sister, boyfriend, a very great friend, and a friend of hers. My prayer warriors were right there with me as they gave us our own private waiting room since I didn't follow the orders. I go back with my baby all the way until it was time for her to go behind the surgery doors. They notified me that they would call me periodically throughout surgery to keep us updated on the procedure, and they only wanted to speak to the mother or the father. I was a total mess. I could not gather myself, so when they called, I would let my sister pretend to be me. I couldn't bear to hear any bad news, as I was frightened of all the things that could go wrong. Every call happened to be good. God was in the blessing business. After 6 hours, my baby was finally in recovery. However, they were only allowing 2 people to go back, as she was in the intensive care unit. I do not do well with sickness, tubes, machines, or anything of the sort, so I was fighting a battle with myself. I knew as a mother I had to go see her, but I didn't want to see her with the tubes inside. I also didn't want her to see any fear in me, so I sent my sister and my boyfriend in as I composed myself. My sister went first to check and make sure everything was fine, and then she would give me the pass to come back. It worked out just fine. I was even able to sneak my mom back there. After 2 hours, the doctors came and let me know that they had never seen a child recover so quickly. They had already removed the tubes, and she was eating. We were removed from ICU immediately. My God don't play about me. His hands was all over my baby. My daughter asked, could she walk around the hospital? It's less than 12 hours after her chest was cut wide open, and she was ready for physical activities. So I went downstairs and got a wagon and pushed my baby around the hospital. The next morning, they were trying to discharge us, as she had made a full recovery. I was not having it, so we stayed an extra day. My baby requested a welcome home party, so me and my hut made that happen. My mom and aunt was leaving the next day, as my aunt had moved back to where my mom lived. I would be all alone once again to take care of my baby. She literally asked me could she do a flip on day 3 of going home. She was supposed to be bedridden, but that didn't last long at all. We would go to her post-op appointment 6 weeks after the surgery. Everything went well. We went back 12 weeks later, and she was doing excellently. My baby was given clearance to do whatever she wanted. That summer, she would participate in her first pageant. Fall came, and she was a dance, cheerleader, gymnastics. Everything my baby ever asked to do, I was going to make sure it happened. At almost 15 years of age, my daughter stands 5 foot 8 inches tall. Her weight we won't disclose, and she is thriving. No health issues other than vitamin D deficiency because she won't intake dairy or go outside. She is a freshman in high school and involved in band, drama, and drama with the girls. When I say my God is awesome, I mean just that. This is just one of the many testaments where I can prove God is real and will show up when you call his name, as my daughter will continue to go on and flourish. As sometimes she is insecure of the scar on her chest, I remind her it's just her S on her chest. She is strong, she is a survivor, she is superb, my super baby. If all else fails, trust him. Believe in his works, for nothing is impossible with God. I want to take the time to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out of this glorious Sunday to listen to my testimony, as there will be many more to come. Until next time, out of Detroit, I'm Miss Open, your Atlanta Street Interview Sector news reporter. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Opinionated News, and hit the push notification for your next Testimonial Sunday.
There's no testimony without a test. I'm here 'cause he said I could be. He has wrapped his arms around me. My life is a testament. I must tell someone. My life is a testament. I can't keep quiet just like Jesus. I was risen from the dead, I'm his child, just as he said. His love is greater than life's expectations. The shield of his grace is my protection. I got a testimony, yes I do. For his favor has kept me through. He can do the same for you. Try him and watch what he do. I testify he is more than enough. You will make it through even when it's rough. Give him all the thanks and praise. Be blessed for the rest of your days. There's no testimony without a test. He has wrapped his arms around me. My life is a testament. I must tell someone about it. My life is a testament. I can't keep quiet just like Jesus. I was risen from the dead, I'm his child, just as he said. His love is greater than life's expectations. The shield of his grace is my protection. I thank you, Lord, I thank you. By your hands, we are here. No testimony without a test. I'm here cause he said I could be. He has wrapped his arms around me. My life is a testament. I must tell someone about it. My life is a testament. I can't keep quiet just like Jesus. I was risen from the dead, I'm his child, just as he said. His love is greater than life's expectations. The shield of his grace is my protection. I got a testimony, yes I do. For his favor has kept me through. He can do the same for you. Try him and watch what he do. I testify he is more than enough. You will make it through even when it's rough. Give him all the thanks and praise. Be blessed for the rest of your days. There's no testimony without a test. He has wrapped his arms around me. My life is a testament. I must tell someone about it. My life is a testament. I can't keep quiet just like Jesus. I was risen from the dead, I'm his child, just as he said. His love is greater than life's expectations. The shield of his grace is my protection. I thank you, Lord, I thank you. By your hands, we are here.